Hi, this is Mother Mantis. Welcome back to my channel. If you have finished Mass Effect Legendary Edition and now you're in the mood for another great RPG style game, and you're wondering if the Dragon Age series would be a good game to pick up next, well, the answer to that is maybe. There are some significant differences between the two series that may affect how you feel about the gameplay and the game world in general. So let me tell you a little bit about what those differences are in terms of the setting, your companions, and the combat, so that if you decide to play Dragon Age, you know going in not to expect Mass Effect in a medieval fantasy setting. I'm not going to get into the story itself, but here's some information about how each game story is structured. The Mass Effect trilogy features a single protagonist, Commander Shepard, whose traits and relationships can be imported through all three games. And because the overall story has that kind of consistency, and because you're meeting and building relationships with your companions over the course of three games, the relationships feel like real friendships after a while. The character development comes off as a little stronger because the main character is not a blank player surrogate, and the writers have three games over which to develop Shepard and develop Shepard's friends. The downside to this is that you are somewhat tied to the decisions you made in the prior game and the traits you assigned to your Commander Shep earlier on. Well, not literally. I mean, you can go all Paragon in one game and then just do a total about face and go all Renegade in a next one, but it's a fairly immersion-breaking thing to do if you're really into the lore of a game. Also, no matter which backstory you pick for Shep, the game starts out the same. On the other hand, Dragon Age features a whole new protagonist with a new origin story and different relationships. In Dragon Age Origins, your chosen class or race completely changes the opening hour or so of gameplay because the societies of Thedas treat mages completely differently from those without magical ability. And elves are treated differently from humans, the dwarves have their own society. It's all very well developed, and it allows players to experience new things in each game instead of being bound to the decisions you made in a prior game, while still having a connection to the world created in that game. Of course, the downside to this is you don't have the long-standing connection to either your protagonist or their companions, so it can water down the depth of your connection to them to some degree. And as an aside, Inquisition would be easier to pick up and just play, but that's one argument to play Origins before you play Inquisition, because Origins has not aged well in terms of look or gameplay, but the story is immersive and the lore is so well done and so deep that you would then come into Inquisition with a full understanding of how Thedas societies are structured, who is oppressed, of how religious and cultural beliefs have imposed themselves on the societies of Thedas. That's a topic for a different video. Anyway, Mass Effect is a little bit more linear and action-oriented, a little more shooter than RPG than Dragon Age is, and Dragon Age has a very deep and well-developed story, and I would argue a deeper and more immersive lore. Now look, linearity is necessary to storytelling. The teller is guiding the listener towards a predetermined outline, so at the end of the day, all of these stories are linear. But the problem is when a player can see the line from here to there without really needing the story. So I'm not saying Mass Effect is badly done by any stretch, it's not. But the linearity in Dragon Age is a little bit less obvious because of the sheer amount of lore and story that's available makes that line so wide that you notice it less. Anyway, that also is the topic for another video. As far as the combat, Dragon Age is generally a more strategic and tactical combat game, at least in the early games, in which you can pause the combat at any time to issue commands to your party members. So in the moment, it can feel like combat is more about managing your party than just wailing on some dude. Compared to Mass Effect, it's a slower combat style. I've actually heard Dragon Age compared to Baldur's Gate in terms of the playstyle, but I've never played Baldur's Gate, so I'm just passing that information on. Dragon Age is an over-the-shoulder cover shooter and the commands that you can pause and issue to your party are more limited, so it has a faster and more action-oriented feeling. So in general, Mass Effect's combat feels a little more fast and natural. Dragon Age's combat is slower and more tactical. In terms of companions and morality, the Mass Effect trilogy focuses on a core group of companions. Those companions you meet in the first game become huge parts of the story. They return to various degrees in all three games. Then you meet new companions in Mass Effect 2, and by Mass Effect 3, you have a fairly robust group that's been with you a long time. You have a real history together. Dragon Age games, on the other hand, have a completely different cast. In addition to your protagonists being different in each game, most of your companions are new to each game too. A couple of friends do return through the games to various degrees, but for the most part, just like the protagonist, it's a new group of people. They're well written and they're likable, and their personal quests are very effective at showing you a lot about who they are and what their values are, but it's not quite the same as the slow burn of a shared history like in Mass Effect. So the Mass Effect crew feels a little more intimate and bonded, and the Dragon Age crew feels larger and a little more diverse. You learn a lot more about the personal lives of your companions in Dragon Age than you do in Mass Effect, but the Mass Effect squad feels a little more tight-knit. Mass Effect also has a morality and reputation system that operates on separate sliding scales called Paragon and Renegade. Most of you probably know that. And those scales unlock the availability of special dialogue options that can have varying impact. A good action in Mass Effect won't make up for a bad one. And being nice sometimes will not fix your reputation if you've been a hard ass to everyone up to that point. But then neither will the occasional renegade action really damage you if you've been a paragon up to that point. So Mass Effect's morality system is less intense. Actions will never really damage your relationships with your followers. Whereas Dragon Age games have an approval system in which the companions might agree or disagree with your actions. So if you're constantly making decisions that a particular companion disagrees with, you'll damage your relationship with them, and they'll become less friendly when speaking with you, and they can even abandon your crew and leave you entirely if they really dislike you. So you could say Mass Effect is a little bit more about its characters and a little less about its world, and Dragon Age is a little bit more about its world and a little bit less about its characters. Mass Effect is a story that's very focused on characters, and Dragon Age is a story focused on strong lore and an extremely well-developed world, but a little less about the individual characters. Or to be really simplistic, guns or magic. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Cheers.